All right, so this is question 21. Again, we got two classes. Let's go investigate class test to see if we have any of those private or static fields, right? So it does look like we have a private string data. Now we should go ahead and look at main see if we're ever accessing like dot data, right? Like some kind of test object and then dot data. Looks like we don't have anything of that sort. So this shouldn't really cause a problem, at least not right now. It looks like we have a constructor that takes in no arguments. That's good. We have a constructor that takes in a string. That is also good. Then we have a public print function. So that might be useful right here. Although there is a squiggly line there, so I wonder if something weird's going on over here, but we'll investigate that in a little bit here. Right. So no real anomalies yet. So let's start at main and just go line by line, see where that gets us. Looks like we're declaring 3 test pointers. So we got T1 over here, T2 down here, and then T3 all the way down here, right? And then T2 and T3 are explicitly pointing to null, right? And then this says T2 is equal to new test updated. I know it's kind of hard to read with the night mode, but that just says updated, right? So it's taken in. We're making a new object with a string argument, right? So we should instantly go down to this constructor, right? Because it also takes in a string, and we're just saying t2.data is equal to whatever I passed in, right? So in other words, here's our test object. Its data is going to be equal to whatever I passed in. So in other words, updated. I'll denote that with a U. And then T1 is equal to new test, but with no parameters, right? So I'm not passing anything into these parentheses here. So I'm going to the constructor that matches my parameters, which is nothing, right? So here I am. Data is equal to the default. So T1's data is equal to just this default string. So it's a type test, and I will denote that with a D, right? So now I'm doing some like a little bit of reassignment, right? T1 is equal to T3, so whatever T3 is pointing to, T1 should also point to that same thing, right? So T3 is pointing to null, so that is what T1 should also point to. So I'm just going to kind of like do this. Actually, that'd be kind of problematic if T3 has to point to anything else. So here, right? So T1 is pointing to null just like T3 is pointing to null. All right, so this next line is saying whatever T1 is pointing to, T2 should also point to. So what is T1 pointing to? Well, null, right? So then T2 should also point to null. And of course, right, nothing's referencing these two objects, so they're kind of collected by that garbage collection system. And so what are we doing now? We're doing T2.print. Now, here's the difference between saying like something like system out, system out.print T2. The difference between using that Java predefined, or I guess like the print function made by Java, and the difference between using that and using your own print function, right? As I was saying before, if you wanted to print out an object, of course you would invoke the toString method, like using this sort of like notation. But then Java would realize that T2 points to null, so it would gracefully just print out null, right? And you'd be on your way. However, we don't have that here. We have our own print function, right? So I want T2's print function, and I should print out T2's data. All right, so then what is T2? T2 kind of doesn't exist, right? It's pointing to null. So in other words, I want null dot print, and then I should go ahead and print null's data. Do you see a problem with that? right? I'm trying to access an object that kind of doesn't exist, right? Um, what even is null's print, right? We don't know because I'm pointing to nothing. I can't get nothing's print function or print method, and then try to access nothing's data, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What you'll end up getting is not null, but you'll actually probably get a null exception, right? You try to access a method from null, right? So your program will probably crash or some kind of exception, some kind of null pointer exception maybe will be thrown pretty adjacent to a segmentation fault in C, right? So you'd end up choosing none of the above, and we can go ahead and verify that. This is what 21. Yeah. All right. So the correct answer would be D, right? And I'll see you guys in the next.